Spendthrift Farm Stallions. First 2-year-olds on the track by Golden Sense, Cross Traffic, It's My Lucky Day, Can the Man, and Shaking It Up, including Golden Sense's stakes winner Pickett, a dominant 9-length winner in the $75,000 DS Shine Young Futurity at Evangeline. Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.
Hi everybody and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Spendthrift Farm, home of such excellent stallions as Warrior's Reward, sire of Axelrod, recent winner of the Indiana Derby and a 3-year-old to watch in the second half of the season. I'm Dan Illman along with Nicole Russo, and as we take a look at Saturday's Spa Baby race, it's the Grade 3 Sanford Stakes at 6 furlongs. We feature a field of 7 with the number 5 Dreammaker a scratch, but Nicole, 2 Spendthrift stallions are represented. The 1 Sombaye by Into Mischief and the 7 Bano Solo by Into Mischief's son, Golden Sense, currently the leading first crop sire in North America in 2018.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really big year for that sire line, started by the late Harlan's Holiday. Harlan's Holiday's son, Into Mischief, a leading juvenile sire for Spendthrift. His sons like Golden Sense, Can the Man on this year's freshman list. Another son of Harlan's Holiday out there in Shanghai, Bobby over at Ashford, who's really beginning to emerge internationally. It's going to be a great year for that sire line, prominently featured here in the historic Sanford.
Let's take the field in post position order, beginning with our morning line favorite. That's the number 1 Sombaye, going out for Todd Pletcher and Javier Castellano. This one again by Spendthrift stallion Into Mischief, a $125,000 weanling purchase who sold up for $230,000 as a yearling, and the dam was very versatile, stakes play sprinting. This horse is the only black type earner in the field, and I thought he ran well in the Tremont Stakes.
He really did, especially considering, I think, a lot of extenuating circumstances. He was very fractious in the paddock for the Tremont, reared a couple of times, was really kind of all over the place there, then stumbled badly at the start. Still beaten less than a length for the whole thing. In the paddock, I really thought he had the build of a horse who would want to go longer. I think he's going to move forward off that Tremont experience, both in the race and kind of with the peripheral experience. Fired a bullet last out in preparation for this, and as we said, Into Mischief, a leading juvenile sire.
I have to admit, I am a little bit concerned about this inside post for Sombaye at 6 furlongs at Saratoga. You mentioned he can get a little bit keyed up in the paddock and in the post parade. He's going to have to break from that inside post. It could be an intimidating place for a youngster, and he hasn't exactly gotten out of the gate all too great in his first 2 starts, so it'll be interesting to see where Javier Castellano has him after the first quarter mile. His uncoupled stablemate is the Pletcher train number 2. That is Lexitonian. Lexitonian is out of a dam that won as a 2-year-old going long, but the second dam won the prestigious Grade 1 test stakes at Saratoga, and I just love the way this horse was so professional in his debut, shooting up on the rail to win with a 69 buyer.
Yeah, already running really well down toward the inside, as you mentioned. You know, a good experience for these 2-year-olds. We've already talked a little bit about how, you know, a 69 buyer, that's very respectable for a 2-year-old at this time of the year. By Speightstown champion sprinter who can certainly get you a nice 2-year-old. Nice blend of speed and precocity in the female family. And out of a Tappet mare, Tappet beginning to emerge as a broodmare sire. Remember that his oldest daughter is only 12 now, and he's starting to turn up with some nice runners out of his daughters.
Calumet Farm homebred. We'll take a look at that replay of the debut. John Velasquez was aboard. Lexitonian was in the second flight. A lot of times you see these 2-year-olds, they're so precocious, they're speed crazy, they go right to the front, but you see them down on the rail, and again, that can be an intimidating place for an inexperienced horse. I love the professionalism he showed. I love the fact that he was getting away from this field in the late stages, and this horse might benefit if there is a fast and contested pace up front in Saturday's Sanford. The number 3 is Knicks Go, a debut winner at Ellis Park. He is by Painter, a $40,000 weanling who sold for $87,000 as a yearling. This dam was very fast on the turf, a multiple stakes winner going short on the grass, but it's a rather versatile pedigree.
Yeah, definitely, especially when you put young sire Painter, who of course did all of his work on dirt up top to give the family a little more versatility. The Ellis Park 2-year-old program kind of flies under the radar at this time of year compared to Saratoga and Del Mar, but it's really turned out some nice horses in recent years. Ben Colebrook looks to have some nice juveniles this year. He's got some entries in on Friday's opening day card, and Knicks Go has had a strong series of works at Keeneland, also fired a bullet recently.
I agree with you about the Ellis Park program. There are some nice 2-year-old races there. Knicks Go showed speed in the debut. He might be forwardly placed, although he might face a quicker pace scenario than what he was used to at Ellis Park. The 4 is Whiskey Echo going out for Steve Asmussen. And just talk about a pedigree. This third dam is the Blue Hen mare, Courtly D. It's just a tremendous family, black type all over the place. And it was nice to see a son of Tiz Now come out rolling first time out for a barn that historically excels with second-time starters.
Yeah, definitely. And these Steve Asmussen 2-year-olds really kind of blossom at Saratoga, sometimes coming off the Churchill meet. Some of them, as you mentioned, a little bit of experience under their belts. Tiz Now we don't typically think of as, really kind of an early firing 2-year-old sire, although he did have the champion filly Folklore early on. But you just look at this horse's page and you just sort of see class everywhere. As you mentioned, it's the Courtly D family. You could fill a catalog page, with any one of her daughters. Recent standouts from her line include the likes of Breeders' Cup Classic winner Bayern. And you look at the connections associated with this horse. Bred by Don Alberto, they sold the son of Tiz Now to Winchell Thoroughbreds and Willis Horton. Just, classy connections handling this horse all along. Got a B+ from our clocker team headed by Mike Walsh for a recent work in company with Bono Solo. And our clocking team wrote, have to appreciate the build of this youngster, well put together. Seems like there's a lot to like about Whiskey Echo.
There was a lot to like about his debut run at Belmont. He was hammered down to odds on, and this is a race without Lasix. He'll be getting Lasix for the first time in the Sanford. You see he's on his left lead right now going into the stretch. He changes over right there, and he wins in comfortable fashion. Another horse with good speed that can certainly be forwardly placed. Arad Ortiz has the mount. The number 6 is Chase Greatness, and Chase Greatness is a son of a really strong stallion, More Than Ready. This horse really improved with blinkers added in his second lifetime start. I look at this pedigree, and I know the dam was stakes place sprinting on turf at 2, and she is a half-sister to a good sprinter in Pacific Ocean, but I wonder if Chase Greatness will actually eventually blossom in middle distances at a mile and a 1/16.
Yeah, I kind of tend to think so. More Than Ready out of a Giant's Causeway mare. And, both those stallions can get you a dirt horse, but they are, turf stallions as well. Definite turf breeding. This one's maiden win came on a sloppy track in an off-the-turf maiden special at Churchill. Churchill tends to kind of play to turf pedigrees sometimes, especially when the track is wet. And, this one was intended for turf, won an off-the-turf race, now moving on to a dirt race by virtue of that. But I wonder if this one is going to find a home on turf eventually as well. You do have to like one of the highest buyers in this field with a 75, and Horatio DePaz did very well with his juveniles at this meet recently.
And DePaz does well with his 2-year-olds overall, most of them for Sagamore Farm, as we see with this formulator fact. Over the past 2 years, with maiden winners last time on dirt, 29% winners, a $3.68 return on investment. That's the 6, Chase Greatness. We'll move on to Asmussen's other runner. That's the 7, Bono Solo, by again that exciting young spendthrift stallion, Golden Sense, a $115,000 yearling. And check this out, Nicole. Sold for $400,000 in March after blistering a quarter mile in 20-1. This colt is fast. He was a gate-to-wire winner in his debut at Churchill Downs, and he's got speed in his pedigree.
Oh, definitely. And, the Golden Senses they've really come out firing. Golden Sense, 2-time winner of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile by leading juvenile sire mischief. You would expect his runners to have speed, to have precocity, and they certainly have. He's got 6 individual winners already at this point of the season to lead the freshman list, including a stakes performer. As we mentioned, Steve Asmussen's 2-year-olds really sort of start to come around at this time of the year, and Bano Solo, a good recent work according to our clocking team, in company with his Asmussen-trained stablemate in this race.
Completing the field is the number 8 Strike Silver, going out for Mark Cassie, and Strike Silver was the sale topper of OBS October, going for $275,000. This is a son of violence, and as you see with our pedigree card, there's a lot of black type there. The second dam, a 2-year-old Grade 1 stakes winner. The dam, a half to Dreaming of Liz, who won the Arlington, Washington Lassie over Arlington Park's Polytrack. This colt earned the field's best Beyer speed figure in his debut, and I like this outside post position.
Yeah, definitely. I like that he's going to have some options from that outside post. Earned the 76 in that Churchill debut, and Violence was one of last year's leading freshman sires by both earnings and winners in a really competitive freshman sire group that kind of came down to the wire last year. So Strike Silver, definite precocity on both sides of his page.
He might be fast enough to make the lead, but if Bano Solo decides to really blaze the way, I think Strike Silver can rate. The manner of his Churchill debut win was sort of slow early, fast late, and I think he can sit off of a horse. And Cassie excels, as we see with this formulator fact, with these kind of horses. Past 4 years, you take debut winning 2-year-olds, they come right back in their second start in dirt sprints. He wins 30% of the time with a 288 return on investment. Pick time for the Sanford. Who's going to take it?
You know, I'm really looking at the Asmussen pair, and while I think Bano Solo, just really a lot of precocity on the pedigree and is going to be ready to fire, I like the way Whiskey Echo seems to be progressing. I like, kind of the high marks that our team has given him. Really a lot of class on the page. He looks like the sort of horse that's going to continue to move forward with experience, perhaps stepping up off that debut win last out where he was a little bit green. And as I said, I am looking for big things in the future from Sambaye. I think he's a horse who's still got a lot of learning to do, but I do think he's going to move forward off that Tremont experience. And while, maybe he's not going to be able to quite work out the trip from that inside post, I'm certainly looking for him to give a good account of himself again.
I'll go with Strike Silver on the outside for Cassie and Mr. Oxley. Again, this horse put away a couple of other speeds in that debut and then held off the favored first-time starter and highly regarded Nitrous, a horse we'll be seeing at Saratoga, I believe, early Saturday afternoon. That'll be my top selection. I'll go 8, 6, 1, and 2 in the Grade 3 Sanford Stakes. Nicole and I will be back in just a little bit to discuss Sunday's Spa Baby Race presented by Spendthrift.